Hi guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Neil. If you've not been here before, please do not forget to subscribe before you leave. That helps me out and it helps you guys out because it means that if you like my content, it will show up in your feed. If you don't subscribe, don't give me a thumbs up, don't leave a comment, then you probably won't see anything from me ever again, unfortunately. Today we're going to do something which is a bit crazy, or at least some people will consider it a bit crazy, you know, and not so long ago I would have said the same, being a tube amp guy. So we have today the EVH 6L6 Stealth 50 watt head behind me. It's an absolutely fantastic head, an amazing head, a head that has sold and sold massive numbers. Most people I speak to on forums, on Facebook, places like that like that type typical high gain metal tone from like the 5150s are all either waiting to buy one of these or would like to have one of these if they could afford it, or they already have one. You know, all the mini heads are absolutely fantastic, really portable, really easy to get on with. They've got the power, obviously the 50 watts of power there, the typical 5150 style tone, but they've also got this really lightweight feel to them, and they're really quite small for a 50 watt head as well, so perfect for guys out there gigging. We are going to put that head against the Blackstar Amped 2. Now the reason I've picked these two heads is because I believe that the Blackstar Amped 2 is definitely in the same ballpark tone wise. We're not going to use any pedals in this demo, it's just going to be using the drive from the Amp 2 and also the drive from the red channel of the EVH. I'm going to be going into a Hesu 212 V30 loaded cab down there below that you can't see, it's probably out of shot, and on that cab is an SM57. It's just going straight into my iPhone. I'm going to be using a Jackson DK2 Green Glow Ash guitar that I use in a lot of demos. Probably most of my demos I've been using that guitar, and that's why I've picked it in this demo, because you guys are very familiar, if you've been on my channel a while, with the tone of that guitar, and also you guys are very familiar with the tone of the EVH 6L6 Stealth. Now what I want to say is the reason behind these videos, because I've got quite a lot of messages and comments from people going, what the hell are you playing at, you know, you're using the Amp 2 a lot and other Blackstar stuff, and you know, nothing can mess with EVH, blah blah blah. And look, I love EVH amps, I absolutely love them. You know, I own 3 of them. I think that's enough to be said on it. You know, if that's not proof of me loving EVH amps, then I don't know what is. The L34S down here is the biggest, most powerful beast of an amp that I have ever owned, and I say that still to this day. What I will say is that you can get 5150 style tones out of the Amp 2, and that is the type of tone that I like naturally. That's the tone that I go for, a nice tight percussive gritty tone with plenty of mids and also some nice harmonics in there as well. As I'm playing with these two amps, what you will see is me fiddling around with the Amp 2 quite a lot, trying to get it to match or at least sound more similar to the 6L6 Stealth. Now because I'm not switching directly between one and the other, I'm having to use my memory from using the Stealth first and trying to get it to match the low end mainly. So without further ado, let's get on with it. Let's check out the EVH 6L6 Stealth versus the Amp 2. Please stick around right till the end of the video because there's a bit of a conclusion. I'll come back on at the end and give you my opinion on what I felt in the room, because I think that's what's probably most important, how we feel as guitarists in the room with our gear. Okay guys, so what did you think? To be fair, I mean, they both sounded absolutely awesome in the room. I love both of these pieces of gear. What I will say is that when I was trying to match the Amp 2 to the EVH, what I found myself doing was just trying to find from somewhere a bit more fullness in the low end. The Amp 2 typically had quite a lot more highs. I mean, I dial in quite dark tones anyway on whatever amp I seem to use. The Amp 2 had definitely, it's probably as loud. I should expect it to be as loud, you know, in a band situation, and I should expect it to hold its own in the mix. But in the actual room, there's that thwommy movement of speaker that you really only tube amps have. The Amp 2, to be fair, it is not far off. Like, it is a whisker off, you know what I mean? Like, live, you're probably not going to know or notice this. It's something in the room that you can feel as such if you were rehearsing with it, but that big thwommy thing that you get when you palm mute and when you hit the low end of a tube amp that fills the room. Not all tube amps, because some tube amps are garbage obviously and they don't do that, but the EVHs do, and all the other amps behind me do tend to fill the room with that classic tube amp boom. The Amp 2 is just a smidgen behind, which is why you see me flicking through the different power sections on there, because there's 3 different power sections. I was trying to find the one with the most low end fullness, and also why you see me dialing in some extra low end to try and find that. Now, one thing I will say is the Amp 2 was easier to play through. I felt a bit quicker. It was a bit more forgiving. The harmonics popped a bit easier. But yet it wasn't quite as gritty and as raw as the EVH, like you'd expect, but equally as good. Like, you couldn't pick much between them, to be honest. I'm sure if I spent more time messing with the Amp 2, I would find even more low end in there, but you don't want to get the tone too dark, you know, you've got to cut through one way or another. The settings on the EQ actually are more or less the same on both amps, as you can see behind me there. But yeah, really interesting combination, should I say, a really interesting comparison. It would be nice to hear what you guys think, because it doesn't matter what I think, you know, use your ears in this demo, please do not use mine. The only reason I've come on at the end is to kind of describe in the room what I felt, and yeah, there was not much between them, nothing at all, and as I suspected, I'd be perfectly fine taking the Amp 2 out and gigging with it. In fact, I'd be really happy actually to just take that, you know, and go into a PA and some kind of backline behind me that was already there, so I don't have to lug around cabs, don't have to lug around a heavy head. It's got effects on it as well, obviously, which is awesome, and it really is a good piece of gear, which is why I've held on to it. Another thing I will say before I leave, some of you may, in the future, if you stick around on my channel, see me put the dual distortion pedal, which is a Blackstar pedal, into the Amp 2, and when you do that, that has a tube in and it's very full sounding, and that does bring a bit of extra fullness. So that slight gap, which is a very small gap between a tube amp and these Amp series pedals, that dual distortion seems to fill it a bit, because it does add a bit more fullness. It does fill that gap and bring it even closer. You know, I don't think it will be long before we're in a situation where something similar to like the Amp 2 has caught up with tube amps, to be fair, where you can't distinguish it and can't tell the difference at all. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Please do not forget, I absolutely love EVH amps. I do love Blackstar amps as well. Very nice people working at Blackstar amps. I know quite a few of them now. And also, another good thing about Blackstar amps is they're not scared to try new things and innovate. You can tell by the number of products that they've pushed out just in the last 12 months that they are not scared to experiment. And I really like that. I'll always support innovative brands on the channel. Thanks for watching. See you all soon.